Let's say you've just set up a bunch of new servers and need to get them ready. Install software, make folders, add configuration files. Doing this by hand or even with scripts can quickly get messy and very hard to manage. That is where automation tools come into picture. Today, we're going to take a look at Ansible, which many of you already use to manage servers and repeat tasks. But as your setup grows, maybe you need to run several playbooks in order, handle errors, or connect your automation to other tools. You need something more to keep it organized. That is where Kestra comes in. In this video, I'll show you how to take your Ansible playbooks and use Kestra to run them as a part of a bigger automated workflow. We're going to start with a quick Ansible example, then see how Kestra can help you schedule, organize, and track your automation from start to finish. So it's going to be a hands-on demo, a lot of coding, so you can follow along as well because it is very simple. Kestra is open source, so you can use it for free. And folks who are beginner, who may feel like these are just buzzwords, don't worry, we're going to cover the basics as well. Let's get started. Now, before we jump in, obviously we'll be using a lot of tools in this video, so I'll be doing a demo of all of those so you can follow through. But before that, a huge shout out to Kestra for collaborating with VMware devs, and we are bringing a new series called Hack Sprints, where we pick open source projects, like real world open source projects being used by companies around the world, and you sort of like hack onto it for over a week. And we're going to give away some amazing prizes. Not to give you spoilers, but like really expensive, nice prizes. In the past, we have given like MacBooks and stuff. So a separate live stream video will be going out for that. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and join the VMware devs community. All the links can be found in the description below. So before we jump into the automation part, let's quickly talk about what Ansible actually is. Well, at its core, Ansible is simply an automation tool. You can use it to install software, manage configurations, update your systems, or even provision cloud infrastructure. What is the best part? It does all of this without requiring agents on the target machines. That basically means that you just need SSH access, that's a tongue twister, SSH access and Python, and you're good to go. So a basic example would be, let's say you have 10 servers and you want to install htop on all of them. Now, normally you would, let's say, SSH into each one and run the install command manually. But with Ansible, what you can do is write a playbook, which is just like a YAML file describing the task once, and then Ansible runs it across all of your servers. Easy, simple. Let's see it in action. So here is a simple Ansible playbook. It's just gonna be printing hello world and nothing else. Don't worry, we will be looking at some real world examples. And the host machine. Now this is localhost, means it's running on my own machine. You can follow along this demo as well. It's going to be very simple. I can also connect to virtual machines in the cloud, like a Civo instance or some other cloud instance. It would work perfectly like that as well. You just need to give it SSH access. The command is very simple. I'm just going to say Ansible playbook, and the name of this file is what? Simple.yaml. Run this. So here you can see that it just ran it. There was only one task, print hello world message, and it's just saying, okay, this is done, localhost message hello world. Very simple, right? But that is not cool. We want to see something real world. We want to see something that, people would actually use. So this is another file. This is playbook.yaml. Let me go through this and show you how it works. Don't be overwhelmed because you look at the structure, you just give it a name. Host means where it's running. Connection, this is my local connection. Gather facts right now, no, you don't have to worry about this if you're just getting started. And then in the tasks field, you just put the name, debug message, and the other things. I will show you how that works. So you can see, you can say debug and the message. You can add placeholders. You can add, for example, a shell command, right? So let's say you want to do pip install something, you want to do sudo install something or whatever, right? You can set variables and things like that. You can say again debug message and all those things, right? Again, another shell commands. So what does this file do? Now this real world example is sort of similar to our simple YAML file. Here I only have one task, but here I have multiple tasks. And this is essentially just giving me, let's say you have 1000 servers and you want the information about those servers, like how much disk space is free, what is the serial number, what are the ports that are active, what all applications are installed on it, what operating system it's using, what's the RAM, and things like that. And if you do that manually for 1000 or 10,000 servers, that's not good. So you can just simply write this one file. You can say Ansible, I'm writing this playbook, please give me all the information about my system. Now this can be really good for system audits, right? Troubleshooting, or just keeping track of what is running on your machine at any point in time. So I'm gonna run this, but I'm gonna remove the system profile. I don't want you to see my, serial number and things like that. But you can run the command that I just removed. And I will actually also hide the IP address part. Okay, you can check that yourself. The command that I just removed, just run that. So if I run the Ansible playbook, you can see it's going to give me a bunch of information about system overview. I'm running Mac OS. This is my memory information. This is the free memory that I have. My CPU information, right? I have 16 cores, and show internet connectivity, system load, top processes, what all things I have installed using Homebrew, and a bunch of other things, right? Docker information, anything else that is running, firewall information, and whatnot. So you can get as creative as you want with this, but yeah, if you are new to Ansible, this one I just wanted to mention quickly. But I want to show you the main part, which is infrastructure automation using Kestra, and introduce you to a nice, amazing open source project. But what exactly is infrastructure automation? Why do we care about that? Well, in simple terms, it means you're turning repetitive infrastructure tasks into code. So things like spinning up cloud virtual machines with Terraform, building and pushing container images, running Ansible to configure those machines, and rolling things back if something breaks. Now, in most DevOps or infrastructure teams, automation isn't just a nice to have, it is essential. So you automate infrastructure to avoid manual errors, you keep the environments consistent, and you scale resources when the demand spikes. But as your stack essentially grows, so does your complexity. You are probably juggling Terraform for provisioning, using Ansible for config management, and Docker for builds. Maybe a cloud CLI here and there, and somehow it all needs to work together. That is where orchestration for workflows comes into picture. And in this video, I'll be using Kestra to show you how it can help. For those of you who don't know, Kestra is a modern open source orchestration engine. You can think of it like a central brain that connects all of your infrastructure tools in one unified, repeatable flow, as they like to call it. So everything as code is key here. With Kestra, you can chain together Docker builds, Terraform deployments, Ansible playbooks, and cloud provisioning, all inside a YAML workflow, which is essentially called a Kestra flow, right? It can run on a schedule, you can respond to a Git push, or it can be triggered by an external event like a webhook or an API call. Now, these flows can be fully version controlled, integrated with Git and Terraform. So, no brittle UI hacks even, and everything fits properly into your software development lifecycle. Now, why would you want to use Kestra? I think it does more than just connect your automation steps. It manages dependencies, retries, scaling, and failures for you. So for example, if a Docker build fails, Kestra can automatically retry it. When a Terraform task finishes, you can pass its outputs like image tags or IP addresses straight to the next step. So heavy tasks don't really need babysitting here. Kestra has scalability built in. Secrets and variables move securely between steps, and you get built-in error handling, logging, and alerts. For teams who are using GitOps, your workflows are versioned with your code. Plus, Kestra works across any cloud, or if you want, on-prem setup, so you are never really vendor locked in. That is the real gap with legacy tools and low-code platforms. They don't scale in depth or structure. Also, ever since Broadcom took over VMware, using Aria Automation has gotten way more expensive. It's no longer sold on its own, the SaaS version is gone, and some companies are seeing 5 to 10x price hikes. That is not cool, okay? That is why a lot of teams are looking at alternatives like Kestra, because Kestra is open sourced, easy to set up, and works across tools like Ansible, Terraform, Docker, and a lot of the others. You don't get vendor locked in, and you don't need to pay crazy license fees just to automate your infrastructure. So if you are frustrated with VMware and you know where it's headed, or you just want something that is flexible, modern, and developer friendly, I would say Kestra is definitely worth checking it out. And it's also open source, so take a look at their GitHub repository as well. By the way, all the links I'll leave in the description below. Let's actually take a look at the demo. All right, let's get started with the demo. Running Kestra is very simple. So we saw a demo of Ansible running locally, some real nice examples. Now let's run Ansible on scale, automate our infrastructure using Kestra. And running Kestra is very easy, just this simple Docker command. And what you need to do is essentially just gonna pull the Docker image from Docker Hub, run Kestra. You can access it on port 8080. Now, this is what the dashboard looks like. Very simple and clean. Here are a bunch of things which we'll take a look at later, but some things that are self-explanatory, like namespaces, logs, executions. I'll show you what the executions mean. When you execute your flow is what? You have a bunch of tasks that you want to run, right? You will be able to see, okay, I tried to execute this one task. What happened? What were the logs? What was the output? Things like that. Blueprints are just like, if you are running some tasks again and again, you want to share it with the community, you can do that as well. And there are some plugins. Speaking of plugins, we will be using the Ansible CLI plugin. Okay. So there are various ways by which you can do this. I'll obviously show you a real world example. Let's take a simple example for now. Okay. So I go to my flows and you just go to create and here you paste, right? You paste this. So here you can see what is happening is you just give it an ID, you give it a namespace, and here in the tasks section, you just list down what tasks you want to perform. So here I have the Ansible task. What is the type of the task? Ansible CLI, which you can find over here, the comprehensive documentation, right? Commands, Ansible config, before commands contain an image, all sorts of things, right? So this is the Ansible CLI command. That's why I've put this same thing, as you can see over here. Now, we had this file locally, right? The playbook file. We had this file locally and we were just running the command. How would Kestra know about this? Also, there's the inventory.ini file, which basically tells you which server you are connected to. This basically means I'm connected to localhost, right? If you're using like a cloud instance, you will add the IP, public IP, your secrets and the SSH information and things like that. So here I'm basically going to say, first of all, I'm going to save this, and here I'm going to go to files. Now what I'm going to say is that over here essentially I can see that there's the Ansible, the ID is Ansible and the command is Ansible CLI. That is fine, that is the type. Now input files. What files do you want to take from it? So because this is an Ansible command, it's going to ask me the inventory.ini. Inventory.ini, I can just copy this and I will add my file over here. I can also upload it. Okay, inventory.ini. I'm doing it step by step so you can see. Save this, not a problem. What else do we need? So if we have our inventory.ini in my flow, as you can see available over here, next thing I need is my playbook.yaml. Okay, it's going to have it saved under this variable. Create a file, my playbook.yaml. You can select parent folder and do other things. Just going to save this empty for now. That is fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take my simple hello world playbook. Okay, let's just run this for example for now. So what it's going to do is, here you can see my files, inventory, simple hello world playbook. My Kestra will have flow will have access to this, and you can see that it's pulling this Docker image and it's just gonna run the Ansible command. Isn't this the command we were running? We didn't have to specify this directly because it was taken as default, but wasn't this the command we were running in our local repository on our local terminal, right? Let me just execute this command and see what happens. Finished. As simple as that. Now I can go into this task. I can see what happened. So it pulled this image, container was created, volume was created, and message is hello world. Very simple. This is not cool though. Okay, I mean, it is pretty cool, but it's not something like real world. Okay, so let me give you like a nice example, a better example. So this is an example that I have for Kestra, right? What I've set up over here is a simple Kestra workflow. It will run an Ansible playbook using the official Ansible Docker image, right? As we just saw, it was running it for the basic stuff as well. And this is also running locally. You can also SSH into remote servers, and the environment is also isolated in a container, which is important because no setup is needed on your host. So here's what it does. It prints a simple debug message just to confirm that the playbook starts up correctly. Then it installs the htop package. This basically simulates a basic provisioning task like let's say you're installing some monitoring tools or system dependencies. Next, it's going to create a directory structure for an app under the /opt/myapp folder with subfolders for config, logs, and data. It's also going to drop in a sample configuration file inside the config directory with basic key value settings. And finally, it's going to list out the entire directory structure and print it into the logs just to verify that everything was created as expected. Now the whole playbook is passed as an inline YAML inside the Kestra workflow, as you can see. I am not saying, like I was, let me show you the previous flow. Here I was saying that, hey, my inventory file actually is in this file. My playbook YAML is in this file. So I was separating this. But here what I have done is Kestra allows me to essentially add or copy paste the entire playbook file, my Ansible playbook file, in the flow itself. Okay. So once I trigger this flow, Kestra is going to handle the container spin up. It will run the playbook. It will capture the output, including any debug messages and any command results as well, right? So I'm going to copy this whole thing. I'm going to actually create a new flow. Okay. Paste this and I'm going to save this. Now do I need to add any files over here? No. I mean, I can if I want to, but here you can see that I have directly pasted the files over here. Okay. Cool stuff. Execute this. Let's run this. Simple. Took 4 seconds. Let's take a look at the logs. So image pulled, container created, volume done, and message hello from Ansible. So that is running fine. My task install htop package running fine. That is done. Show package installation results. Failed false. So it worked perfectly. Installed the packages, and here you are getting all the other information. Create a main directory. It created the directory, and it added all the things that I did. See, opt/myapp/data. It did everything over here. You can take a look at the logs as well, the attempts, and filter it. If it fails, you can filter it accordingly. You can check the topology. So this is the drag and drop sort of like command structure that I wanted to show you. Like if you have multiple stuff, this is an Ansible example. Let's say you're running Terraform and stuff and other cloud stuff, you can essentially just click and drag and do that as well. Here you can find the outputs. Oh, by the way, let me show you what I mean by the outputs. Okay, let me show you what that means. So for example, I want all the logs in an output. So I can just say output log file. I can set that to true. I will save this and I will run this. Go to my outputs, output files. Here I have one file. I can preview this and I can download this. Now a question people would be asking me is, Kunal, if we have 100 files, do I just do 100 inline files or do I write this thing as like 100 times? No, there's this concept in Kestra called namespace files where users can basically orchestrate their entire Terraform, Ansible or Python projects, okay, and not just quick tasks like this. So let me show you an example of what that looks like. So instead of input files, I'm actually going to delete my input file section, okay, and I'm going to say namespace files, and here I'm going to say enabled true. Hopefully the spelling is correct. Save, execute. That should run fine as well. Easy. So it says that it loaded 2 namespace files from company.team. If you don't know what namespaces are, you can take a look at the documentation. You're just making a collection of your project. Okay, so you can see that it's like a folder for your flows. Okay, you can organize your flows into logical categories. You can give it a company name and things like that. Okay, simple stuff. So this is another thing I wanted to show you. Like if you have complete, like, entire Python projects or Ansible projects or things like that, you just mention it under one namespace, add all your files in a folder. Using just this one line, it will have access to all of those things. Easy. So I showed you how the outputs move as well into files and things like that. Here are the logs, overview. You can check out some metrics and other things over here also. Cool. This was my production example file available over here. Okay, this is another example. It's like a business automation. So you're working directory, you make a query, you save it to CSV, you save it to Excel and things like that. So you can essentially run the code in any language, not just some sandboxed JavaScript or Python snippet. And you can use this drag and drop UI, right? So Kestra basically handles real scripts and full coding projects. I gave you a nice little example of, we did a simple example just to show you how the Kestra flows are working. And I gave you a nice big file example as well with some more challenging and real world tasks, right? But here are some of the other examples. Like you can see, when you basically set up Kestra, you will be able to see like a lot of examples in their ecosystem. And I would recommend checking out the blueprints as well. Last thing I want to mention is if I have my like Ansible tag, my Ansible flow over here, you can also set triggers, right? So triggers, like I can schedule this, and I can just essentially just say, like under my tasks, when do I want to do this task? So I can set a schedule. I want to do it hourly. You can also do other things like whenever someone makes a git commit, I want you to run this execution. Whenever someone does this or that, I want you to, or make an API call or things like that, that's another thing I wanted to show you. But a very cool project, what I would recommend next is go to the Kestra GitHub repository over here. They are very close to 20,000 stars. So make sure you do that. I would recommend checking out their examples, other things that they have, and a lot of other community driven examples. I would recommend checking out the issues. They have a lot of good first issues for you to contribute to. As you can see, there are so many, so you can check that out. So make sure you give it a star. And what I mentioned earlier is we are going to be running a hack week with Kestra. So you can follow this tutorial to get familiar with the tool. I would say create your own flows. Use Ansible definitely, but try to use other projects as well. And we will see you very soon in the Kestra Hack Week. I am very excited about that. So as you can see, they have over 600 plugins. So I highly recommend checking that out. But yeah, all the links can be found in the description below. Let me know what you think of this tutorial. If there's any specific example you want me to cover, I can do that as well. So make sure you comment that down below or share it on social media, tag me, tag Kestra. And I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.